Welcome to LiftBig TV. I'm your host, Mike Parsons. We're going to be going over the big three lifts. So when I say big three lifts, what I mean is bench press, squat, and deadlift. Now, as a competitive power lifter, these are the main three lifts that you're going to be doing. So the first thing we're going to do is we have our guest, Lucas Duguid, who's going to be bench pressing for us. So before we get started, we'll talk about some of the negative things that people are doing that you should kind of try to avoid. So most people, when they do a bench press, they think of a bench press as a straight up and down motion in a very mechanical 90-degree angle to middle of the chest, keeping your elbows straight, okay? Now what that's going to do in a negative way is it's going to put a lot of adverse pressure on your rotator cuffs and your front delts, okay? And that's when you see people starting to stir the pot, okay, with their shoulders. They're gonna have a lot of injuries, and your risk of injury of a rotator cuff goes exponentially up the higher weight you use. So when I start teaching people how to bench press, what I start to teach them is going through a checklist in your mind of all of the setup things that you have to do, okay? And it's not a mechanical motion, it's a groove. So you're actually going in a slight rotating manner, so similarly to this, okay? A rolling sensation, okay? So the checklist I take all of my lifters through is I get them to have their feet down, planted. Now, if you're gonna be competing, you need to look at the rules to make sure that it's not, you don't have to have your feet flat, or if you can or you can't, it's in the rules, okay? So every federation has a rule guide that you can check out. So the next thing we're gonna do is, so he has his feet back, and now they're pulled back so that they're engaging the quadriceps. You wanna get leg engagement in a bench press in order to get maximal weight and maximum force. You wanna get that leg drive going, okay? So he's pulled his legs back and he's engaging his quads. The second step of that is keeping your shoulder blades nice, tight, and squeezed together, okay? Now what this is gonna do is it's gonna make sure that he's tight so that he's not shifting his weight, okay? The next one is, based off of where your hand placement will be determined mostly on your shoulder width and your build. So most men are usually wider, so they like to have their hands placement a little bit different. Most bars have a groove on them, where you can see, okay, this is where my middle finger is, and it kind of experiments, see what feels natural. And when you're looking at this stuff, everybody's different, okay? So what might work for Lucas might not work for me, might not work for the next person. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna have your eyes at bar level. Now what that's gonna do is make sure that there's no overcommit, either inside or over. So you're not gonna over pursue that bar, okay? So we're gonna get him to grab the bar. Now he's gone through the full checklist. He has his feet down and pulled back. He has his shoulder blades tight, his eyes at bar level. He has his hand placement where he likes to have it. Now, as the spotter, when you're doing a lift off, make sure that you don't pull him off the bench because you want him to stay tight. So it's basically just moving it out, okay? Now we're gonna come down to the chest. Nice and slow, and we're gonna get 5 reps of this, nice and slow. And notice, he's not shifting his weight anywhere, he's staying very solid. And one more, and coming up, and pulling back, and down. Now that is a proper bench press. Now when you do a bench press like this in competition, you're gonna have 3 commands, usually. One command is a start command, where your lift-off person, or if you want to do a self-lift-off, so everybody's different, they'll hand you the bar and they'll wait till your spotter, it's out of the way, or you've demonstrated complete control of the bar, and they'll say start. Then you have to press down till it's motionless. Now there will be a middle judge behind where I would be, and he will tell you a lift command, or lift or press, okay? So it'll be start, motionless, press, and then there will be a rack command. Now the rack command is basically to signify that you've demonstrated under control that you have the bar controlled and ready to put it back, okay? So we're gonna do a demonstration of what a lift with commands would be. Okay, you ready, Lucas? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I've demonstrated, I've let go of the bar, start, press, rack. And that's a full competition bench press, okay? Now, the other things you need to avoid when doing this, like we were talking about before, is over pursuing with your track, okay? When you lift a bar, you want it to be upper abdomen, so upper abdominal muscles is where you're touching your chest, to your chin, okay? Now, when I teach this, a lot of people, when they first start doing it, they do what I like to call overcommitting. So they go upper ab, but then they go to their nose or their eyes, and it throws the weight back. So again, you want to make sure that you're practicing the groove, okay? Don't go to maximal weight right off the hop. You have to make sure that you've earned the right to lift a heavier weight, okay? Now, the other thing that most people do too much is they go super, super wide or super, super narrow, and it focuses on different things. When you're trying to do maximal weight, you want to get as much muscular engagement as you can. So some people are what we like to call tricep dominant, where they press where it's very narrow and they're pressing with more triceps. Then there's chest dominant, where they're very strong through their pectoral muscles and they're a little bit wider and getting a nice tight squeeze. Now again, lifting should be fun and you should try different things and kind of evolve your lifting habits, okay? You want to make sure that you're going to do what's best for you. So be careful when you're watching YouTube videos, because again, like we explained before, what might work for one person might not work for another. As well, if you're a drug-free athlete like everyone in this gym, you need to take good recovery between sets. So we're talking a full 1 to 2 minutes, sometimes as much as 5 minutes between each set, to make sure that you have maximal recovery so that you're ready and the risk of injury goes down. Okay? Now, in a moment, we're going to go to the support system for this, which is going to be a seated overhand row. Welcome back to LiftBig TV. So what we're going to be doing today is whole body variations on several different lifts, okay? So the first one we're going to be doing is the power body row, which is isolateral, which means you can do isolating movements with both arms. Now what we're going to get Miles to do first is the overhand grip on the row, which is going to target your upper back and pull your shoulders back in order to engage that upper back and maintain health through the shoulders as well. So we're going to get you to demonstrate 5 reps of the overhand grip. Now notice his head up and chest up, and his shoulder blades are nice and tight. Squeeze in that back. There you go. Perfect. There you go. Last one. Coming up and controlling back down. Now again, make sure that you're taking a breath when you're doing these. I like to take a deep breath before I do my lift. I lift and then I'll exhale on the downward, okay? You want to make sure that your breathing is right for you. Now again, everybody's different. Some people like to breathe differently on a row, but again, it's all your different style, and have fun with this stuff and try it out. But make sure that you're doing the appropriate weight so that you're not overexerting yourself and risking injury. So the next one we're going to do is the inside grip on the row, which is going to target more of the middle part of your back, and it's going to really help keep you tight when you do a bench press. Okay, so we're going to do middle grip now. Now notice he's coming right to his chest. His shoulder blades are tight, his head is up, and his chest is up, and he's breathing very well. And one more, good. Perfect, and coming back down. So the next one we're gonna do is what I like to call the outside grip. Now, not a lot of people are aware that when you do that outside grip, you're pulling so tight that it really helps you on something that has nothing really to do with your back, the bench press or even a dumbbell chest press. So what we're going to do here is he's going to do the outside grip, and he's going to demonstrate that right now. Now notice you're wider, so keeping your elbows in as tight as possible, coming to his chest. There you go. One more. Good. And coming back down. Now again, that is a very difficult lift, so you're not going to want to go as heavy as you're doing on the inside or the overhand grip with that. You want to make sure that the weight is appropriate for which grip type you're using. So the last one we're going to do is the lower handle grip, which puts you at a mechanical disadvantage. Now, there are other machines like a Dorian Yates row from a Hammer Strength brand where you're underhand pulling it in, which again, when you have a disadvantage, it makes the lift harder. Therefore, the weight has to be lower, and it is very intense when you're doing it, okay? So I'm gonna get Miles to do the lower handle grip right now. There you go. And again, notice he's still coming to his chest, shoulder blades are tight, and he's breathing properly. There you go, a couple more. Good, and perfect, one more down. Yeah, there you go. Good, and complete. Now again, as you want to do these, you want to make sure that if you're going heavy, you want to make sure that you have a spotter in front of you just in case you fail, because again, you don't want to destroy machines or cause too much of a ruckus in the gym. Again, I know that when you're lifting heavy, it's very tempting to just drop the weight to kind of show, oh, look how big I am. But that's not what lifting's about. It's about respecting the people around you and respecting the equipment because it's not your gym, okay? That's all for the row. What we're gonna be doing next is the super squat variations and how to improve your squat based off of that machine.
This program is brought to you by MLB Extra Innings, part of the Rogers Super Sports Pack. Follow the teams and players you want to watch.
Join Nadia Matos for Crime Stoppers, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
When my legs get stronger, I want to play basketball, volleyball, I want to run. I was sick when I was a little baby. I had meningitis.
Even after they did the amputations, they said that it was likely he would not make it.
To now, you throw him on that bike and off he goes.
My bike helps me get my legs stronger.
Without the war amps, being able to afford his limbs and devices would be difficult.
Thank you for helping me get around.
And welcome back to LiftBig TV. The next one we're going to be talking about is the barbell squat, okay? Now, first of all, we're going to talk about what the difference between high bar and low bar, which basically is the placement of where the bar is going to be on your back. So I'm going to turn Megan. So high bar, when you hear somebody say a high bar squat, the bar will be about here, okay, on their back. When you hear a low bar squat, what they're talking about is a little bit lower on that shelf, okay? Now, when I say a shelf on the back, there's a natural groove that the bar can be seated in. Now, everybody's is different, so you're gonna have to look at it and figure out what works best for you, okay? The biggest thing with squats is that people tend to load up way too much weight and they start rounding their back or they start flaring their knees out too far and causing a lot of pain and risk of injury, okay? So with this, what you need to do is focus more on control and keeping the weight where it's manageable. And if you're gonna go for a heavier weight, you wanna make sure that you have at least one spotter, if not 3 spotters, and making sure that your safeties in the rack are high enough that if you drop it and your spotter's not paying attention, which should never happen, but if it happens, that it'll hit the safety and it'll save your life. So the proper way to spot somebody on a squat, okay, and again, male trainers know that if you're dealing with a female client, it is a little awkward, so you have to tell them beforehand that this is what we're gonna be doing, okay? So Megan will be in front. Now let's say she fails on a squat. You should have your hands and your arms ready to come under and grip here and help her lift that bar, okay? Now what that's gonna do is it's gonna alleviate the weight off of her, and it's a strong position for you as the spotter, and it'll help you safely get her back to the rack, okay? So we're gonna do the checklist with squat like we did with bench. So she's gonna be under the bar. She's gonna be centered. Now, I tend to tell people to walk their bar out unless you have a monolift, which is another story. But she's gonna walk that squat out, a couple steps. She's gonna take a nice deep breath, hold that breath in until she hits the bottom, and then exhale on her way up. So we're gonna do about 5 reps of this. There you go. And she's staying nice and tight. And again, as the spotter, being safely in position to catch her if something happens. There you go. Good. And let's get one more rep. Perfect. Now walking her back in, making sure that she's safely hitting the safeties and controlling back down. Now that is a textbook squat. Now, one of the things you need to look for is when you're coming down, if you start to flare your knees out or flare your knees in, you have to be cognizant that these things can cause severe injury. So you want to try to keep it so that your knees are in line with your feet. Okay? Now, if you do a wide stance where your feet are wider, you just have to be cognizant and aware that the knees could be an issue. Okay? The other thing is when you have your arms back with your shoulders, that there could be some tightness in your shoulders, and you want to be careful that you're stretching and making sure that you're stretched out and ready to go before you do a squat, okay? Now, in a minute, we're gonna do a super squat machine, front ways, and hack squat as a nice support system movement to help better your strength levels for squatting. So we're gonna do some support system stuff now for your big 3 lifts. So for the squat, I like to do what's called a front squat on a super squat machine. Now, some gyms may or may not have a machine like this, but if you have one, great. If you don't, you can use a leg press in similar regard, but I think that you need to be simulating similar motions to what you're actually going to be doing, okay? So what Megan's gonna be doing is the first one is a front squat. Now with this machine, you can go a lot deeper than parallel, and you won't have that pressure in the knees because of the angle of your feet, okay? So we're gonna get 5 reps on this. So notice her head up, chest up, the shoulder blades tight. She's gonna be going nice and deep. There you go. And we're gonna get 5 reps. There you go. And up, safety, and back down. Good. That was a perfect set, and this is what we're looking for, okay? Now, the other thing when you do these things, you're gonna fatigue the quads and you're gonna load them, but in a safer manner, okay? Now, this machine will keep you in the groove that you need to be to stay successful, okay? The other one that we're gonna do is what's called a hack squat, where you're gonna be backwards to the machine. Now, this one's a lot tougher, so make sure that you're adjusting your weight accordingly. You're gonna be able to do about half of what you can front squat. So kind of start low, and get a weight that you can comfortably do for 10 to 12 reps. Now, if you're gonna be lifting heavier than that, you need to have a spotter to make sure that he has the safeties in, or her, to keep the safeties in control, okay? So Megan, we're gonna do 5 reps of the hack. Nice and deep. Perfect control level. There you go. And one more. And control, safety, control down. Good. Now again, when you're doing this machine, make sure that you're taking care of where your foot placement is. The higher up you go, the more engagement of the hamstring you're gonna get. The lower you go, the more quadricep you're gonna get. Which again, mess around with that. Have fun with these lifts. You have to learn how to do these things properly and safely.
Anything at all. He's that strong.
Joe Schuster, will you stop it or you'll miss your train? Now help me find number 5.
Strong, but by day he's a mild-mannered reporter. Glasses, you know, a secret identity.
Honestly, you Canadian kids.
He'd be in this cape.
A what?
A cape, wearing these blue tights.
A hero in tights, really. Here it is.
Listen, Lois, this guy is faster than anything, I swear.
If you're not fast, you're gonna miss your train.
That's it. A bullet. He's faster. No, he's faster than a speeding bullet.
Come on, get on it. No one's gonna read a comic strip about a strongman in tights, Joe. It'll never fly.
Fly, no. But he can leap over tall buildings. Oh, wow, yeah.
See what your cousin Frank says in Toronto.
Wait, Lois. I've got something for you. Here, take it. It's a gift. You never know, it might be worth something someday. Is he great or what? Bye-bye, Lois.
So the three different types of main lifts that are sumo stance, hybrid stance, and conventional stance. So Megan, could you demonstrate sumo stance for us? So notice how her feet are very far apart. Now this one's gonna get you closer to the ground and get more hip engagement as well. You're gonna have a little bit of arms as well. Nice and easy, coming down. And we're gonna get a few reps of this and see how it goes. Now notice her back is gonna be straight, shoulder blades tight, and her head up and chest up. And one more, good, and down. And stand up. And so again, when you're doing sumo stance, there's a lot of controversy when in regards to sumo stance. A lot of people, purists in the sport, think that it's a little bit of cheating. Now, personally, I don't care. I think that if you pick a weight up, you can pick a weight up. So now, some of the higher end guys in the sport now are doing 900+ pound deadlifts. And there are a lot of people, Brian Shaw and Hafthor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall, that have done over 1,000 pounds on a deadlift. But again, everybody's different, so you have to base it off of what is more comfortable for you. So the next stance we're gonna look at is called hybrid stance. So this is a mix in between conventional and sumo stance, okay? So she's a little bit more narrow. And again, keeping her head and chest up, shoulder blades tight, picking it up. Nice and easy. There you go. And again, keeping it as close to your shins as possible. You want to drag it up those legs. Good. And good. Coming back down. Now again, same with the first one. She's keeping it close to the shins, head up, chest up, shoulder blades tight, but also making sure that she's balanced. She's not tipping forward or backwards, and that's where the posture comes in. Okay? The last one we're gonna do is what's called conventional deadlift, okay? Where your feet are usually around shoulder width apart, okay? And it's gonna be more of a straight up and down motion. Now the advantage of this is that you get a better leverage base because you have a longer lever. Okay, so she's gonna grab this one. She's gonna sink her butt down and she's gonna come back, and this is more of her style, okay? So she likes to do this way. That's why you notice she's a lot more comfortable doing this one. And one more. Good. And her speed on that was very good. You wanna get a little bit of an explosion on the way up and make sure that you nice, tight hold, okay? Now, what we're gonna talk about next is the fact that when you do a deadlift at a competition, what they usually do is they don't give you a command per se. They'll have a judge have their hand up, and when you're ready, you lift, and then they'll put their hand down when they think you've locked out, and you can safely put the weight down, okay? So we're gonna demonstrate a full competition deadlift, okay? So Megan, when you're ready. And that's all it is. That's a competition deadlift. Perfect form, and that's what we're looking for. Now, the other thing we're going to talk about before we go into our support systems is grip types, okay? A lot of people feel more comfortable doing alternating grip, which means one hand over and one hand under, like so. Now, the other one is going to be double overhand, which is a lot more, it's a lot different and a little bit tougher to hold onto the bar when you're lifting heavy weight. And good, and down. Now, the other thing that people deal with deadlift is they like to use straps, okay? Straps will take the grip out of the equation because you'll basically be attached to the bar. Now, the negative connotation to that is that it weakens your grip strength because you're not really gripping the bar as much as you should. And but you can lift more weight because you don't have to worry about it. Now, personally, I think you should be deadlifting with just your grip, and if you can't hold on to the bar, you shouldn't be lifting that weight. Lower the weight, do the proper technique. Now, in a minute, we're gonna be doing the support systems for this, which is the adductor and abduction. We're gonna be doing groin and hips, okay? So this is gonna be the support systems that you're gonna need for deadlifting as well as squats, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is what's called an adductor. Now, most gyms have one of these machines, but men especially avoid this lift like the plague because it is a little awkward because of how the lift looks. But again, these are very essential things that you need to do in order to maintain groin and hip health when you're doing heavy squats and heavy deadlifts. So we're gonna get Miles to do 5 reps on the adductor. So this is gonna stretch the interior of the groin. And again, you're trying to touch your big toes together at the top, slow controlled contraction down. There you go. And one more. Good. And control. Now again, you want to make sure that you're maintaining safety with this, because if you go too heavy, you can pull a groin, or in rare cases, you can tear a groin. And trust me when I tell you, you do not want to tear a groin. It is surgery and 6 to 8 months of rehab. It's a very dangerous thing, and you'll never lift the same again, okay? So in a second, we're gonna switch the machine around and we're gonna do the abductor. Now we're gonna be doing the abductor, which is going to do the abductor muscles, which are gonna be in the back of the hips. Now again, I tell and I urge you, please do not load this weight heavy. Start it low, get the full stretch. So what we're gonna be doing with this one is, instead of your toes coming in together to touch, you want your feet facing out and coming all the way out to a full pause. Then slow controlled contraction down. Okay, Miles, you're gonna demonstrate that for us. 5 nice and easy reps. There you go. Now Miles has very good hip range, so this is gonna be very beneficial for him for squatting and deadlifting. And one more. Good, and perfect down. Now again, as you notice, he was very slow and controlled, not choppy. You don't wanna be, especially on this or the groin, clapping the legs. You wanna make sure that it's nice, slow and controlled contractions. Now, make sure you only do this once a week, because it is a stretching motion. You can do damage later on in a lift if you've gone too heavy.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
I have no idea who I'm supposed to be out there.
I myself have come from a wrestling family too. I know exactly what it means to you. But don't worry about being the next me. Be the first you.
Kyle was dead. Tell me what happened.
We got mixed up with some drug dealer.
I'm gonna kill him.
3 of Viking's drug dealers have disappeared.
What makes you think you can kill a man?
I read it in a crime novel.
This is Oren's key tag. When you use a key tag, you protect your keys. If you lose your keys,
The